You have a pair of shortens and retrogrades. Hey everybody. Can we mute that? Oh, we got a loud background noise.
Sorry, you got
super loud. Okay,
loud.
yeah. So we just got finished watching the Candace Andrew debate on, I guess, PBD's channel. I have a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. Today joining me is Father Joseph DiMarzo, who has had a lot of, I think, important thoughts running up to the debate, and he had funny interactions after viral tweets online with reporters like Brie Dale, and we're going to talk about that some today too. But first off, Father, thanks, welcome, and give us your thought, the matter or impression.
Well, first of all, Tim, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, there was a lot of pushback, and of course, we can get into what I said and why I said it. But I know primarily today we're concentrating on the debate that just took place between Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson. In general, I thought that the debate was overall very civil. I think that's, very important when it comes to debating. I think the moderator, overall did a great job. There were some scuffle moments where talking over each other, talking past each other. But overall, I would say they maintained a good level of civility. As it's a heated topic and it's a personal topic. It's personal, I think, for especially Candace Owens, as she was very close to Charlie. So, but I enjoyed watching it. I got some questions of my own based on that debate, but so happy to be here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think this is important to say right from the outset, and this is just my opinion, but while it was moderately civil, that's not how I apprise a debate, because for me, and I think really for everybody out there, this issue, while it might be personal to Candace because of X and Andrew because of Y, and I'm friends with both sides, as people know, and they're allegedly nearly moderated this debate. I was in the top 3 for moderators, but what matters, that I really was disappointed with the debate, is not what it meant to Candace, what it meant to Andrew. And I didn't need to see them interrogating each other on things that either have said in the past that might have been technically errant later. Yeah. What I wanted was confrontation over who most likely killed Charlie Kirk, because that's what matters. I don't think it needs to even be Tyler Robinson centered. I don't think people care. The trial hasn't come forward yet, and all the good evidence is put on at trial. What I care about is that the number one suspect in many people's minds with quite good evidence, this is my perspective, I'm not necessarily speaking for you, Father, is basically like the old WWJD bracelets. In regard to the world in the past 3 to 4 years, especially since October 7th, 2023, what would Israel do? WWID. Now, we're talking about a republic that since 1948 has strongly evinced, demonstrated, proudly advertised, even in Hollywood movies like Munich, that they are the #1 leading user in world history, all polities in the history of the world, of targeted political assassinations. Anytime there is a 100th of material benefit to the existential wellness of Israel being jeopardized, 1/100th of the benefit with regard to the benefit that Charlie Kirk was threatening to remove from them. You know, so literally everyone knows. Not only do they brag about having 10 times more political assassinations in their short history than any other country, but for far smaller reasons. Look at Munich. That's no reason at all. Now you compare that to the number one most important human being in the Western Hemisphere, to the pro-Israel cause, Zionism, hearts and minds, fundraising, capital formation, all that. It was Charlie Kirk. And they have killed and will continue killing, using targeted political assassinations, people that were 1/100th as important to them as Charlie, for 1/10 of the potential removal or jeopardization of a material benefit to Israel. Charlie Kirk is much more important. And you just have to say, okay, the last 3 years, but this is what I wanted to see debated. And I just saw very little of this today. For the last 3 years, pro-Israel American support is in free fall. Daily Wire is plummeting. They're in free fall. Young people, 91% dislike Israel. And it was something like 91 or 80 or 9 or 90% of boomers supported them. That has reversed. They are freaking out. And the history of early summer 2025 points at desperate interventions by American Zionists, rich ones like Ackman and Adelson, saying, Charlie, you are signaling more and more publicly, semi-privately, that you are turning around on Israel. This is the number one reason that people just say, well, what would Israel do? How has Israel acted since 1948? Would they be willing to target someone with a political assassination for something 1/100th as important as the removal of public support? And Charlie was becoming more and more and more loud about it. And as he was becoming Catholic, he was becoming more anti-Israel. And he was saying, evidently, if I ever remove my support, they'll kill me. And it happened the day before he died. And then the US government and other actors in concomitant acted exactly as you'd expect them to act if this was Israel. And that's why we want to see Israel. I don't care whether Tyler Robinson was part of it or someone else was a part of it, and whether it was killed, Charlie, with a rifle or a directional charge. The point is, we wanted to see more talk on Israel, and there's an immense amount of circumstantial evidence that Israel's behind this. And I didn't see this. So I don't know. What do you want to say anything about that for openers, Father?
Yeah, I was laughing a couple of times because every time I lifted up my coffee mug, I actually didn't realize the coffee mug that I brought in, which was a pug dragging their behind on the ground. So I realized as you were talking several times, I lifted the mug in front of the screen, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, dude, why did I do? Anyway, but yeah, I mean, you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, we have to laugh at ourselves. Humility. So, you know, a couple of things. First, from the get-go, I personally am not putting like a stock necessarily, because I think that's really important. Is that's not the point of what I want to express and talk about, especially regarding my involvement. Was Israel involved? Were they not? I don't know. My point, though, is that a couple of things. Firstly, something that kind of came up, throughout this debate, and I think Candace actually brought up that point regarding Charlie's turning on Israel. So, we should be able to ask rational questions and see where those questions, the conclusions they lead to, and just be able to talk about that. It's called using our brains. But nevertheless, I think that something that they kept going back and forth about is the distinction between a question and an accusation, and the ability to draw an inference.
Mm-hmm.
And also the meaning of intuition. Andrew Wilson kept saying, this is your intuition, this is your intuition. And so I feel like there were, they were trying to express what they were, the issue that was happening, and the issue that I think was happening between them that I don't know. I think Candace was getting it. I mean, that's my opinion. I think Candace, I was getting it, and I was like, yeah, I get what she's saying. Maybe Andrew was getting it, maybe he wasn't. But the point is that both of them are presenting what they believe is reasonable evidence to consider. They're asking questions and drawing inferences. It seemed like Andrew was saying, no, you're not just, it's not just an intuition, you're making a claim, and I want you to, you know, prove the claim. And again, I would say that claims, you know, this kind of gets into what is the difference between opinion, faith, and scientific knowledge, according to St. Thomas Aquinas. You know, like the different kinds of knowledge, especially when we're talking about like what counts as evidence, and we could talk about that, like what is sufficient evidence. But it just seemed like, and this is also part of my engagement in all of this, is Candace Owens looks at stuff that's happening. She looks at situations going on, whatever. She asks questions about those things, draws an inference, which leads to a conclusion. Is that the same as making a direct accusation about how she's not directly, and people are like, no, she's insinuating. I'm like, you know, so that's one thing. The other thing is just in general, the ability to ask questions without being silenced. That was my big thing as well. Being able to ask questions and not immediately, this is why I engaged the issue, was people slinging out the terms at Candace, saying she's guilty of calumny, she's guilty of detraction, she's guilty of derision, she's guilty of lying. And I said, okay, let's define those terms. And do those terms apply? So those are some of my initial, you know, thoughts. I mean, and again, who is responsible for this? I don't know. Maybe it was Tyler Robertson. Maybe it wasn't. But the whole point of what Candace was saying about the court proceeding under, I guess, Utah law 1102, whatever, you have people in court saying, I saw this, I heard this, that. And Candace saying, well, I heard this, I saw that. Yes, it's true. Candace is on a podcast. It's not an official court proceeding, you know. But if she's asking valid questions that are good questions about real things, whether it be Charlie saying several days before he dies that he thinks he's going to get killed and talking about Israel or whatever, like that's a valid thing to look at. Like, okay, is she making a direct claim? Like, yes, they did it. No, she's just saying, look at this. Okay, let's think about that. Let's have, like, you know, could it be? Could it not be? Like you were saying basically at the beginning.
Here's the thing, though, Father, I know I think agree about this 80% or better, but I want to push back against just asking questions. I have, as far as I can ascertain, significantly closer to Candace's view on this than Andrew's. And again, I'm friends with both of them, but just asking when you're asking Socratic questions, it means that you harbor an inchoate or a nascent suspicion, like Socrates in the Agora of Athens. And that also is fine. And I know we all have different, I want to talk about your thing with Bree Dale on Twitter, but I want to do it after. Everyone's got, because we live in this information controlled society, normie sort of TPUSA style pro-Israel conservatives have picked this up from the left. You know, the left used it between 2010 and 2020, silencing speech. And the left, like the right, normie right-wingers absorbed it and are using it now. So it's made Candace have to say, well, I'm just asking questions. More accurately, no, she's asking Socratic questions because she has, I would say, reasonable suspicions. Now, at law, it requires a reasonable suspicion for a cop to pull you over for a Terry stop. He thinks he might see drugs in the car. That is not, these are all quantified. For him to detain you or bring you in requires probable cause. That's a higher quantifiable amount of evidence. So reasonable suspicion is something closer to what and I warned both sides about this before the debate. I'm like, look, everyone's. Oh, I think there we go. Yeah, okay, now I'm full sound. Everyone's mistaking terms, and it's fine to ask Socratic questions because you have a suspicion that maybe this isn't what you're saying, but I think there's a reasonable suspicion of Israel. We want to move to probable cause. That requires fact finding that was muted, that was cut off, cut short, nipped in the bud. I think there's reasonable suspicion of Erica Kirk's behavior. She acted like a psychopath. She's acted like a psychopath for 11 months. This is, by the way, the primary thing that moves.
I'm getting a call from the Chancery. Continue.
Okay.
Continue. Continue.
So what I really wanted to see was everyone dealing above board, Candace and, of course, Andrew, dealing above board about the idea that there's a difference between legal inferences, ordinary inferences, and then something like logical deduction. And what Andrew seemed to be requiring of Candace was a deduction, a conclusion following from its premises, like a priori premises. And that doesn't apply in criminal law. Even if he says, no, I wasn't, I'm talking about inferential reasoning. Well, there's a difference. That inference is defined at law. Circumstantial evidence is valid evidence. I was telling Andrew this 3 weeks ago by phone. Circumstantial evidence is how most cases get defined. The difference between circumstantial evidence, and there's a great amount of circumstantial evidence against, say, Erica or Israel, at least for means, mode of opportunity, is evidence that requires a legal inference. And Andrew kept saying, well, if it requires an inference, then it's not evidence. I'm like, that's just wrong. I mean, I have a JD. That's just wrong. It just makes it circumstantial evidence. Direct evidence requires no inference. But most evidence that's used in most court cases, they're equally valid, circumstantial and direct, require inferences. And they wasted a huge portion of the debate with those terms. And I was urging both sides to clarify terms up front and to get square with the fact that in American law, whether you're dealing with Federal Rule of Evidence 401 or Utah Rule of Evidence 1102, inferences are allowed at law. Circumstantial evidence is fully valid evidence. And it just seems like a huge swath of the debate was ruined by that, which was disappointing.
Yeah. No, I think, a question to find a conclusion or a question based on a existing conclusion. I think that distinction is really important. A question to, we never act without a reason, right? So maybe it seems to say that if you're asking a question, it's for a reason. But yeah, again, I think that terms to be defined, question, inference, intuition, evidence, accusation, calumny, just accusation, detraction, intuition. I think defining those terms are really important because to me, the heart of this debate, what I got out of it, one thing that I got out of it, one big argument that seemed to be taking place, and this seems to be the, why I may have caught flack or whatever, is exactly that, like just asking questions or making accusations, calumny or asking questions, evidence or no evidence. Like it's we need to define these terms so that we can proceed forward the right way. It's like, is a person asking questions necessarily mean they're making an accusation? Is the logical conclusion that they deduce based on the questions the fault of the person asking the questions, or is it on the person who draws the conclusion based on the rational questions? Do we know the person is purposely leading, like we talk about simulation, like purposely knowing I want to lead people to a conclusion? And what's worse is why I talked about calumny, because the whole point of calumny is that you want to lead people to a false conclusion on purpose. That's literally the meaning of false accusation. But determining that is going to require, again, some kind of evidence or something that the person is that's what they're doing. I did a a podcast like a week or two ago, you know, and I talked about these subjects. You know, Bob robbed a bank, even though I know Bob did not rob a bank. I said he robbed the bank, and then people find out that I completely planned to tell everyone that Rob robbed the bank. Like, it's been proven that I purposely fabricated information. So unless you're going to say that that's what Candace Owens is doing, I don't think you should be accusing her of calumny. And, you know, the other thing is St. Thomas Aquinas says that there is such a thing as just accusation. He was talking within the context of a court proceeding in question 68 of the Secunda on unjust accusation. But nevertheless, he says if there is a just cause, sufficient evidence, and one has, now this is where we get into the evidence, what you were talking about, either they're a direct witness to the claims they're making, I saw Bob at the bank, or they're privy to it. What she was saying in her episode was, I have sources. And I think one of the things she was saying is like, there's legal reasons why I can't reveal those sources right now. Or she was talking about like something with France and legionaries, France, they're, you know, they're on the ground, and she sent something to the, you know, but the point is like, that's not the same as a person just saying like, I'm just going to make stuff up and say it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, let's just set that foundation right now, that when there's a public murder, a public assassination that all the world sees with fishy circumstances, the number one suspect when there's foul play is usually the spouse, right? Especially you have to examine means, motive, opportunity. And in this case, there's a tremendous amount of means, motive, opportunity for a foreign entity, you know, which is said by our chief counterterrorist operative, Joe Kent. And it's all being suppressed. And the main way it's being suppressed, because it's no longer Fox News or one of the four networks that run everything, it's being suppressed with a kind of moral, a kind of moralizing, sermonizing. That is what.
Like, how dare you? Like, how dare you?
How dare you? You have to.
How dare you? Shut up, you priest. That's basically what I felt online. But not saying people were saying that, but it was like, be silent. Don't you dare enter into this discussion.
Believe all women.
How dare you?
Believe all women. Believe all widows. And here's the thing. Here's why we can't believe all. Believe all women was a leftist trope from 12 or 15 years ago. Believe all widows has been this TPUSA normie trope. The problem with believing all women is that sometimes they lie. The problem with believing all widows, a lot of times they do. The problem with believing all widows is that, I mean, I have a JD. I studied the criminal law. I studied it very closely. More often than not, a widow is more likely than some guy off the street. The way people have this brainwashed in their head, most murders happen. Some guy off the street wants to do an artistic murder and he paints with everyone's blood to make a political statement. That doesn't happen. Usually it's spouses that are more often than any other group. So you can't afford to believe all widows as a prosecutor. And the fact that prosecutor in this case seems to be believing all widows is a means of using the moral sermonizing and the framework, the presuppositional framework, to shut down.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. If I can just quickly get into the online explosion that took place, if time permits. So
yeah,
you know, essentially, I was watching one of Candace Owens' episodes, and she presented this image of a car, or the image of allegedly Tyler Robertson in the garage. It still hasn't been proven that it is him, but nevertheless, I looked at this image and I said, that's interesting. And then I put it next to the footage from the courtroom, and I said, that's very interesting. And then I took a look at when you, it's not AI, it's just a simple application where you can stretch the width. There's no AI in that. That's just literally stretching a photo, and it's called compressing, decompressing, squeezing, whatever. And my main point was not to focus on the dude, because people can actually argue both ways and say maybe he was actually skinny, maybe he was actually buff, maybe she stretched it to make him look buff, maybe it's squeezed to make him look skinny. What you can't deny is the cars in the background. They're clown cars from the courtroom. Now, maybe some people say, oh, it was a sideways thing, and okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I was just making an observation. Normal sized cars equal normal sized people. That's all I was saying. People didn't like that. Then I posted something about a speech that Charlie gave. I think it was either before or after that. And I just basically said, for people who are attacking Candace Owens for asking questions and searching for the truth, and also, for the theories that she's come up with based on the evidence that she's presented, I found a video of Charlie Kirk, a JFK. He was talking with a student on campus, and the student, he was actually defending Israel. He was basically saying, I don't think there's a basis for them being as it's not to get into the JFK case, but the point is Charlie conceded. He basically said, he talked about several points. He says, do you really think that this lone gunman, who apparently wasn't a good shot, went up on the roof by himself? He spoke about how he thought multiple people were. My main point with that was, if Charlie Kirk can think that way, if he can ask those questions and think that way and make those assertions, why is Candace Owens somehow in this realm of she must be silenced, she must be stopped, she's different? And then that got more pushback. Someone had responded to me, Paramount Tactical. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary, Paramount Tactical. And he basically, in his tweet said, something about me having brain rot. Okay. I got brain rot. And then he listed a series of scripture passages. He listed several passages on widows. He listed, I think, 1 or 2 passages on false accusation. He listed the final passage was like on, don't, be careful of those who divide and lead people astray from true doctrine. And I just answered his questions. And one of the points that I made was that although I don't accuse Erica Kirk of committing a crime, that's not my stake in this. My stake in this is the argumentation of just throwing scripture at me. Just throwing scripture at me saying, these scripture passages say that widows are to be protected. It's false reasoning. It's a false syllogism, right? These scripture passages say that you shall protect and not attack a person who's a widow. Erica Kirk is a widow. Therefore, you shall not attack Erica Kirk. It's like, I think that...
Let me summarize for the people that don't know on Twitter, because I think it's a lot simpler than maybe it's easy to get caught up in. Brie Dale, who my audience knows well, came after you on Twitter yesterday because you noted that you noted rightly that the prosecution had compressed the image of the Tyler Robinson doppelganger, had compressed it to make him look skinnier than he is. Because,
wait, just real quick. At least my point was not to say that they compressed it, but that it was compressed based on my observation. Real quick.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Fair enough. Because people don't really care about me in this, you in this, Candace in this. People are, or Andrew Wilson. People are saying Candace and Andrew are making it about themselves. I don't think so. But even if they were trying to, it would only be if people let them. What I care about, what everyone cares about, is just that the facts come out. And the facts are that the picture you rightly noted looks like it's compressed, because a trial is a fact-finding event, and we haven't gotten to it yet. So the facts aren't out there. But one thing that we're noting, that you noted, that's pretty ostensibly, apparently...
Can you pull up that picture?
Yeah, can we get that, Stevie?
Just
is
gotta look at it.
the guy who likely is not, in my view, likely is not Tyler Robinson that's being put forth as Tyler Robinson at the scene of the crime, or the parking lot of the scene of the crime, has biceps. He's built. Tyler Robinson, he has capped delts, you can see. And they evidently
Jacked.
in the pretrial hearing, yeah, he's jacked. In the pretrial hearing, it looks like they shrunk it down. And the way you can tell that they shrunk it down is because of the clown cars.
You can see that now.
You can see it. They're side by side. That guy's pretty strong. That guy's pretty darn strong. Tyler Robinson was not.
If you go to my profile, it's a little bit different, but it's just, I don't want to bring this. I don't know who posted that, but I just for the sake of not throwing it on them, you know, in case they don't want to. On my profile, I have the up and down, but it's the same point. The point is that the cars are clown cars in one photo. In the other photo, they're normal. And I'm thinking to myself, that is, oh yeah, that's the number one, number two.
Yeah, it's damning. And you just made a common sense point. And Bree Dale, who works for Daily Wire, came after you, essentially doxed you. People were telling me today on Twitter they didn't dox him. They did. They included the parish number, the parish confession schedule. I don't know if you can easily ascertain the address. And here's what I care about. I don't want you to get thrown under the bus because I care about justice. But for the larger question that doesn't involve you or me or he or she, it involves the truth of the matter. That's more circumstantial evidence that all these Israel front groups, like Bree Dale of Daily Wire, are acting oddly, are acting in a way that's not consistent with objective truth finding. Okay, and that's what people wanted to see in today's debate. You know, you were kind of pre-debating this in the 48 hours up to the debate. A lot of people have been doing this for the last month or so. I'm one of them that's been sort of looking at this for the last 3 weeks. And there's further circumstantial evidence of a cover-up or foul play or a larger conspiracy, judging by the odd defensive behavior of actors on the side of Israel. And that's all this amounts to. And, you know, when we take ourselves out of it, it's really odd that, you know, I think it's odd that my friend Andrew, I believe he sincerely believes what he's saying. And that's fine. I know him to be a man of integrity. It's been hard to see people going after his integrity online. Look, this guy always says what he thinks.
And his family.
And his family, and going after Rachel, who's one of the nicest ladies. And Candace and George, it's hard to see people going after them. But I just disagree with Andrew. And I just would say, honestly, dude, you want evidence. You know, he asked so many times for evidence today. All of this weird human behavior, human actions are odd on the part of Daily Wire actors. The defensiveness is strange. I think the number one moment in the debate, if we're talking about the actual debate today, was when I take both of these people to be good faith debaters, and they agreed to come do a good faith debate. I think the number one missed moment was when Andrew said something fallacious and Candace seemed to miss it. So it's sort of a miss for both of them. He said, if I had sources, private sources, saying the exact opposite of what your sources say, Candace, because her source is private, then would you believe me? Then if I were Candace, I would have just said, oh, well, yeah, I would believe you. This is a good faith debate. Neither of us is lying. One of us might be wrong. One of us is wrong, but neither of us is lying. I would believe you if you promised you had secret sources saying the opposite of what I'm saying. Do you remember that moment in the debate when she said this? This is a good faith debate. Do you claim that, Andrew, you have sources gainsaying precisely what I'm saying? My secret sources said, because Andrew's an honest man. He's a good man. He would have said, no, I don't. And then the point would have stood that unnamed sources are a part of fact finding, particularly in pretrial, when you have the number one assassinator of witnesses in the history of the world on the other side. So they really didn't do a good job, I think, either of my friends saying, yeah, unnamed sources are real evidence. And then Andrew just says, what, we have to take your word? Yeah, it's a good faith debate. I'm not lying. I might be wrong, but I'm not lying.
Yeah, and Tim, I think though, something that is an even bigger problem, even behind all of this, and it's like a debate on top of there's the debate itself about Charlie Kirk and the trial and the content of the accusations and the claims. Excuse me. And then there's a bigger debate about freedom of speech.
Yes.
And also, even our ability to have this conversation without getting pigeonholed as being guilty of being anti-Semitic or calumnious. Like, we should be able to have this conversation in good faith, ask these questions without immediately being basically attacked, saying like, shut these people up. They're guilty. They're slandering. They're anti-Semitic. It's like, no, we're using our brains and having good conversation about things that are happening in our culture. And I don't know if it was Bree. I don't know her from Adam. God bless you, Bree. I wish you well. And but nevertheless, I think one of the accusations was like, how do you have so much time to do this? Shouldn't you be hearing confessions? And it's like the vibe, in the language of Candace Owens, but like and that wasn't like an offensive way. That's just like, but my intuition, whatever, is like that I don't have a place. It's either that I don't have a place in public debate or it's because of what I said. So which one is it? Because it's one thing to say what I said was wrong. It's another to start looking at my personal life or my pastoral life and say, because of that, you shouldn't be engaging. Is it that I shouldn't be engaging because of that I'm a priest, or is it because of what I said, or is it because you think I should be busier? And also another thing I would want to say is I could spend my time or my spare time outside of my pastoral responsibilities that I attend to, watching TV for hours or playing video games or going out and eating dinner, whatever. I could spend my free time. You know how I spend my free time? I study. I read. I write. I listen to different things online. I use social media for evangelization. I am working 24/7, not in the sense of like an alcoholic, but I'm always, my heart is on fire to serve the Lord. And as a moral theologian, I'm engaging in all of this, not to necessarily get into, trying to prove this or trying to prove that, even though I have my opinion, which I'm allowed to have about, the car thing or whatever, but simply to say, I think terms are being used incorrectly, and I'm engaging in this so that to give clarity. And the response I've gotten is just, it's almost like the response is just, you shouldn't be on the internet. You shouldn't be talking. You're a priest. Had to, you're participating in her evil. It's like, you're not actually answering any of the things that I actually said, which were rational, reasonable. And it's, and again, God bless this woman. I don't know her, but, it's like, if anything, it's like, how do we evangelize the culture? We could use social media. And then as soon as I start, priest starts using social media and actually engaging the culture and speaking truth, it's like, you should be in the confessional 24/7. You should be busier at the parish. It's like, yeah, I could be, but if I wasn't or had some spare time and I choose to use it in a productive way, as opposed to just sitting around doing nothing, somehow now I'm, it's like that. It seemed like that was an aside argument, aside from the fact that it's like, but did what I actually say have substance? Rather than just say,
that's what girls do with it's the let me talk to your manager. If they don't like what you're saying, it's just let me talk to your manager. So she's just going to go for, your vocation as a priest. And a lot of, I guess she's unaware of the fact that priests are allowed to have private opinions.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I want to draw this distinction. I want to get to some clips from the
I'm
debate.
ready to get canceled.
I'm
ready for it.
I want to say that
I'm ready for this. I think of what's the UFC fighter. I'm ready for this.
Anyway. Something though. I know we'll support you, but I saw tons of people supporting you. Bree got ratioed,
and then blocked us.
And she blocked us, but she got ratioed. Let me make this point really clear. My whole audience will support you, even if they might disagree with what you've concluded about Charlie Kirk's assassination. They know it's important to have priests able to speak in the public space. This is like a Protestant Masonic speaking point that priests should just shut up. Priests, if we want the culture to be Catholicized, we want the new evangelization, and that's what you're doing. But you're talking as if everyone came out against you. Everyone that I saw, the vast majority came out for you and against Bree. And I did a tweet today that got like 500 likes just a couple hours ago. Like, this is what happened to Father Joseph just yesterday. Everyone liked it. But here's the real problem. And you don't have to weigh in on this. You probably shouldn't. But the real problem is that the threshold that the chanceries and the bishops have for nicey is so much lower. If you get one pushback, you, any parish priest, I'm talking to all the parish priests, you get one pushback from one liberal white woman or one Zionist white woman out there who has nothing to do on her hands.
Wait, I think you just cut out for a sec. I didn't hear what you said. You said if you get one pushback from Chancery or something?
If you get a single pushback from the Chancellor, from a woman, and the bishop or the Chancery hears about it, they come after you. Their threshold is razor thin for that. Whereas most people look at, hey, you're kind of winning hearts and minds on Twitter. You can measure it because of what we call the ratio, right? The comments to likes ratio. And you carried the day. But and I do want to move to the actual debate. You know that the terms aren't the same. I won. The basketball team to win a game has to come out with 1 point more than the other team. They don't have to win by 100 points. But you, Father, because you're a priest under the 2026 USCCB, have to win 100-0 if you say anything publicly. You can't, even if you won 100-10. The bishops will go, well, or 90-10. Why were 10% of the comments against you? It's like, I don't know, because that's in the culture. So this is a Catholic problem. This is a Catholic problem, and it's an Episcopal problem. I'll say it. You didn't say it.
Oh, well, I've already spoken about it before in the past. I spoke about the issue of cultural effeminacy. I did a podcast some time ago. That's a big issue that I think can affect pastoral ministry, is a constant shrinking from what is difficult. Yeah. I've also had my fair share of scraps, like even aside from online stuff, as a parish priest, when I'm doing my ministry, in my homilies, I don't just say what people want to hear. I say what they need to hear. And I've had moments where people were not happy, or, I've had different situations. And one of the things I noted was, it shouldn't be a question of you said something that offended someone. It's a question of, is what you said the right thing to say, and did you say it in the right way? And I get that sense of, we've seen Bishop Strickland, other priests, kind of get canceled because they're saying things that are not, I guess in accord with what should be said or whatever. But the point being is, and I'll say this to our viewers, I'll say it to the world, to the internet. Yes, it is true that I represent my diocese and I represent the church as a Roman Catholic priest. But my words are my words. They're not my bishop's words. They're not the vicar general's words. They're not the diocese words. So that the rhetoric of what you say is what they say, no, stop that. What I say is what I say. I own my words. I live with my words. If you want to come at someone, you can come at me. That's fine. But don't, throw and it's a balance, because again, it is true. I do represent my diocese. I do represent my bishop, and I am a son of obedience. If my bishop said to me, today, if he said to me today, and I'm sure we'll have people calling him maybe today saying this. If he said to me today, out of obedience, I want you to officially go offline. No more X, no more podcast. It would be done. Goodbye, keeping the faith with Father Joseph. Goodbye, Twitter. Goodbye, Instagram. And I would do that just like St. Padre Pio. I don't think that's going to happen because A, I'm not doing anything wrong, which people are saying. and B, I'm preaching the gospel in the
Father,
context of the, oh, I think I lost you again. It's glitching.
you don't have to convince us all, man. I mean, look, back.
Sorry. I think we're buffering.
Okay, you're back.
Now.
Can you hear me? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying it's you know, you're what you're saying is common sense. Everyone in this audience agrees. It sucks that you have to go through 20 minutes of red tape to just say, here's my common sense opinion. You know, the emperor's naked. But
I'd rather be canceled for speaking the truth than being coward and silent. I would rather die with Christ because I spoke the truth than be a coward. And sometimes people use the term prudence. I get that, but sometimes prudence just means don't engaging in conflict. Like it's a conflict avoidance mechanism. It's like, yeah, prudence means what should I do here and now? That's what prudence means. Prudence does not mean if this possibly will offend someone, this is literally what Jesus did. This is why he died. He spoke the truth and they hated him. Anyway, but thank you. I appreciate that. And I also, one last thing I want to say to all the naysayers or negative comments, whether it be Bree or whoever, my word to you is God bless you. I don't have ill will towards you. You're allowed to say what you say, but so am I. And I will not be silenced. You know, I will not be cowed into silence. Not to say that's what you're trying to do, but nevertheless, I'm going to keep speaking the truth with charity and love and clarity.
Okay. Now, having said that, let's watch some clips.
Sure.
Like, I think the main moment of the debate that was so emblematic is when, you know, Andrew said, well, hey, you're producing private sources, Candace, which is real evidence. It's what we call double hearsay. I've had sources saying precisely the opposite, which Andrew was admitting he didn't. Then would you accept it? She should have said, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would take that into consideration because you're not a liar. I'm not a liar. Let's figure this out. If she would have said that, it would have made the point really starkly.
There is, however, tons of
that, you know, that she's not just saying this and presumably he's not either. All right, I don't know if this is that
first clip. This is the first thing that most people were reacting to. So at the beginning of the debate, during opening statements, Andrew Wilson read never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to security team on September 9th, 2025. So he came in with these new text messages. So I'll let this clip go.
There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him.
All right. Well, but here's the problem with that. Okay, so if Tyler Robinson was a leftist who did try to kill him, I can accept that. But he also had said, and it had been expressed about 4 weeks before, that Israel was trying to kill him, especially if he stopped supporting them, which he did also September the 9th. So what I wanted to see either Andrew or Candace address was, what about Israel, who he feared was trying to kill him for removing support, in conjunction with this confused leftist. And he also expressed evidently that. neither of them addressed that point. That seems like the most common sense thing, that he was right about both claims, that the left weaponized this crazy trans guy. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, and I think that you know, something Andrew Wilson was kind of getting into with Candace was about her making inferences and her intuitions, and he kept going back to, oh, but explain the claim, and I'm literally thinking to myself, that's what you just did here.
Yeah,
you're using the text message as evidence, and you're drawing, which is not official evidence, but you're using your own source, which was, I guess, directly Charlie Kirk or whoever that message came, how we got it. You're making an inference that therefore you're making a conclusion that it's more reasonable, it's more likely that it is just Tyler Robinson. Candace Owens is taking evidence such as that text message, Israel's going to kill me, whatever it was, making an inference, drawing a conclusion, making a claim. And I think they did talk about how they're both allowed to do that, but it seemed like that was like the big, I feel like there was pieces missing. So it was hard to like get into what you're talking about, because there was, what's the word I'm looking for? Intellectual vocab or definitions, you know. So it was kind of like it's like they were working towards what they were trying to say, but it's like, what I feel like they were trying to, what I was looking at was, you're both basically saying that either you can draw conclusions based on inferences or you can't.
Right.
And what counts as evidence? Right.
And they both had similar kinds of evidence about a similar claim that is not mutually exclusive. I didn't hear Candace mention the August 13th, 2025 Harrison Smith tweet. Father, I don't know if you know about that, but 4 weeks before he died, Harrison Smith said a source very close to Charlie says that he's deeply fearful or something like that, that if he ever removes support for Israel publicly, they'll kill him. Yeah. He will. Okay. That's the exact same level of directness. I guess it's double hearsay, whereas Charlie's is single hearsay. But that's the exact same kind of strong, inferential, circumstantial evidence that Andrew produced today. And I believe both of them. I believe that Tyler Robinson was involved in some way and that Israel was involved in some way. So we had a complete muddled mess, complete confusion as to whether or not texts like that are considered probative. I will tell you, under the federal rules of evidence, subsection 401, and this governs all of the 50 states' rules of evidence. They all model it after the FRE 401. Evidence is considered probative if a specific fact pattern like this. You say, I'm worried if I ever cut my hedge down, my neighbor will kill me. You tell the cops that before you're dead. They might be like, yeah, whatever. Then if you turn up dead in your house by foul play later, that moves the evidence to being much more probative. So yeah, I'm not denying, and I'm not just saying this because I'm friends with both. I think that's a strong claim. I didn't hear evidence. I didn't hear Candace talk about the August 13th tweet today. I think she should have, but I did hear Andrew's opening. He has that too, but he seems to be the one saying it's probably not Israel. And those are not mutually exclusive claims. So that just seems like someone needs to take an overview.
Yeah, I think if we want to look at something concretely, okay, the roof thing with the gun, the rifle, just one, obviously we can't go through everything, but just one thing as an example of what we're talking about philosophically with respect to intuition, inference, conclusions. Okay. You have this courtroom footage. I wasn't in the courtroom, so I can't say that there was people, I guess, who said there was 4K HD, whatever footage. Okay, maybe there was, but as far as what people saw on the internet, I have yet to see what I at least I would think is 4K. I think my camera is 4K. I don't know, but crystal clear. And there's this discussion of like, there he is on the roof, there he takes a shot, there he runs off the roof. Okay, all right, we're drawing a conclusion. I think that's Tyler Robinson. I conclude. Okay, and based on other stuff, it's not just that. And then Candace Owens posts a video online of a clear, as far as I know, it's the same video of this guy, whoever it is, go up on the roof. I posted about this as well on X. And in the video, you see a figure lay down on the ground, allegedly to take a shot. And you see this object, clear as day. This is more clear than anything I've ever seen. Just go like this. Unfold. Unfold. And I just simply, again, and I sometimes I get flack for it. I made an observation. I said, based on what I've seen through public records of the court proceeding, the online footage that was provided of the video, as far as what has been given to the public, because it actually was given to the public. That was the point of why the court, that preliminary hearing was public. They publicly videoed it because it was meant to be public. Therefore, I have access to it. In any case, I'm looking at both of these videos, and my observation is we're told that a rifle was up there that I get maybe was assembled with a screwdriver or something like that. But this thing is like together, basically. And then you see this video of something unfolding, like flap, flap. Now, I'm just making an observation saying that doesn't look like, and it's not making it, and I'm drawing an inference that maybe it wasn't that gun. Candace has presented way more evidentiary evidence, in terms of reasoning to that conclusion. But I just made one little observation. I said, I don't think rifles flap open. I have not seen, there's fold AR, stuff like that. But this was like a forward fold. I literally posted a video of it like going like this. And I'm just, and I'm thinking to myself, like, a screwdriver and rifle, and then he just quickly gets up and it just is flapping in the wind. Do you see it?
What do you think it was? I haven't seen that video.
I don't know if.
Well, I mean, what's the value of it?
I'm like, maybe legally I have to be careful with this. Like, what do I think about?
You don't just say I think, and you don't. Trust me, I got a lot. All you have to.
In my opinion, I think based on that video that Candace Owens posted, if that is a valid video, which I believe it is, because I trust her. To be an honest person, I don't think she's a liar, as people are saying, but nevertheless, I don't think rifles flap. It looks like a jacket. I think, in my opinion, allegedly, to do the Baron Coleman thing. And I love Baron Coleman, but allegedly, in my opinion, I think that flapping, you see flapping, and I've never seen a rifle flap. And, if you just go forward a little bit to when he's laying on, or you could just, let it. There's a point in that video where she plays the whole clip on it, like uninterrupted. Okay, that's it right there. So she first talks about how the crawl that this guy did, she describes it as a military crawl, like a sniper crawl. I'm not saying that's true or not. I'm just saying that's what she said.
Let me see if I can fast forward it.
Yeah, she was saying he wouldn't have done it. It didn't look particularly technical or difficult, so I wasn't that.
There, he's doing the crawl, military crawl, and I believe he gets into position.
I'm literally gonna be burned at the stake for this episode, but I'm happy to do it with you, Tim.
You haven't
the hell of fire that is coming my way, but that's all right. Okay.
Why? I don't even know why. I feel like you're being you're hedging but being honest, but still hedging. I can't imagine. I just live by a different set of free speech rules than I guess most people with jobs, and probably with your job, the scrutiny is the highest. But it's like two different worlds, because I'm just out here. I do this. My audience knows what I say. I'm telling the truth as I see it. So And that's what you're doing. So
my words are my own, but I am not my own man, if you will. I don't belong to myself in a sense. If you go forward a little bit, there's a point where she shows the whole video on, like, she talks about it, but there's just basically like, yeah, I think that's it right there. Just like it's a nonstop full okay.
He gets into position. He's doing the military claw. There's a flash here.
Doing the crab walk, the sideward crab walk.
There's the flash. And then he's, yeah.
Okay. So he's going to start, he's crawling back. And then this is the point where I guess allegedly he's laying down. Okay. Right there.
Yeah.
The flap.
Yeah. That was weird.
But why? Okay, so it's a flap of a jacket, not a gun. But on I'm asking because I don't know. On Candace's theory, and I'm closer to Candace's view than Andrew's, but I'm not convinced on this. Why, according to her theory, is he doing this? Sometimes I wish Candace would zoom out and tell what she's thinking. Why would a guy do this if he's not the shooter?
Yeah. So, well, I think two things. I don't think that she ever said like it being a jacket. That's just me using my brain looking at a video.
But why would he do this if he's not the shooter? That's all I'm asking. I
mean, oh, there he goes. Wait, there he goes. Okay, flapping around.
Yeah, because now it's a piece of evidence. So now
there's Alex Jones
to this, you know, and saying like, look at him on the roof. The reason that you would have this is so that if you were saying that Tyler Robinson was the shooter, no, this is what they did at the very
at the very beginning.
Yeah, they're saying, "Oh, look, we have 4K footage of this shooter on the roof. Look at this," and that's what they have. And most people are like, "Okay, I see somebody on a roof."
So Candace's theory, yes or no, is that they just had a guy go up there and to help frame the guy, even though they were doing a directional charge, to go up there and make it look like a shooter took the shot, knowing that there were cameras up there. Father, is that
I'm thinking back to that episode and what she said. As far as I know, just trying to draw on my memory of what she has said. She said many things, different episodes, is that and I could be wrong, so I don't want to misspeak about what she actually is claiming. So if I'm wrong, I will take the correction.
Sure.
I think she's basically, I think the main point of what she's trying to make is that it's not good enough evidence to say for sure that it's Tyler Robinson. I think that's the point, is as far as I know, in terms of public records of what she has said on her podcast, she's basically saying, based on that footage, the garage footage, all that stuff, that it doesn't seem, it's not clear enough.
No, I get that it's not clear enough that the man is not
a theory. I think
Tyler Robinson. I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I see. You're saying, what does she think it's like? Who does she think it is?
No. Why did a guy go up there and do that? As part of the frame, or why? Whether it's Elvis Presley, or it's Tyler Robinson, or it's some Israeli Mossad agent. If the directional charge is, because she said she thinks that's what killed Charlie Kirk, is the directional charge, exploding Mike. Why did they have someone go up to the roof and lay down and then run off?
Maybe a decoy. I don't know. I'm not claiming a decoy. I'm saying if we had to think of like possible, if it's not provable beyond a doubt that that was Tyler Robertson, then why would someone who in the world else would be up there? Maybe another dude. Maybe but this is getting into the whole realm. This is the whole point of the controversy, is like, is this a straightforward, clean cut? It's Tyler Robinson. That's it. This is the guy. He was on the roof. He's in the maroon shirt. Or is it something like bigger? That's like the whole point of this, is like, is there multiple players?
That would be the whole point. if you were saying that, okay, look, if this were the shooter and, she accepted that Charlie Kirk died by 30-06 round, which she doesn't. And then you would just say, look, this guy comes up there, he fires a shot, And guess what? We don't know who he is. That would be the mistaken identity. But it's confusing, even for someone that's more sympathetic to her point of view than I am to the normie TPUSA's point of view. I don't know what she's theorizing happened, because there are two variables here. There's who is the man in the video variable, X, and there's also Y. Is he firing a shot or not? She seems more convinced that about Y, that we've been lied to about Y, that he's definitely not taking a shot. And I'm like, it could still be Israel. It could still be a state cover-up.
But I think she's being very careful when she's presenting these sorts of things. She's just putting it out there, and she's saying the narrative that we're being told by the TPUSA normie crowd isn't being backed up by some of the things that we're seeing through the evidence. And I don't think that she's going so far as to say this is exactly what's happening. I think she's just saying this is why I'm interested in this, because this is very off. And these things that we're hearing, at the beginning of the trial, it was like, oh, well, we see like Tyler Robinson. It's definitely him. It's 4K footage. We saw him shoot Charlie Kirk.
No, I get that.
And
That's
then we
the
see
identity.
this, and we're like, what?
It gets into her Patsy argument. Like,
Yeah.
I think she said the other day regarding Lance Twiggs, she said this on her podcast, so it was public. Where did she say it? She said it on, I think it was her, that, yes, it was the other day, because I had commented on something, a point regarding the cars. And I think she said at the end of her episode that she thinks Lance Twiggs is a Fed asset. That, and this kind of gets into this is what she said on her episode at the end, but it kind of gets into what she talked about today about, who is this guy? And did he, is he part of this in some way? And, how do we know, these text messages were sent by Tyler? We can't even look at his phone to prove it.
That's suspicious. Yeah. It's
like
just
we can't.
I just don't know why she's so sure that wasn't say Lance Twiggs or some other federal asset or a Mossad agent up there taking the shot. It's like Occam's razor reversed. I'm just not so sure why she's convinced that it wasn't an Israel shooter up there on the roof that took the real shot and killed Charlie Kirk. Instead, we have the two variables. But I don't know if she ever
waded into the waters of defining who the shooter could be. I think I think that's what she talked about today, is that she wasn't necessarily saying that it was not a gunshot wound. She was just simply pointing out that she doesn't think it was the gun that they claimed it was, based on what she knows and what we've learned about what a 30-06 can do to a neck, to flesh and bone. And I think that she very well might be claiming that there was a shot, but as far as I'm concerned, I think she's claiming it, she's basically challenging the evidence that was presented in the court, which was, this was the rifle that was used, this was the kind of gun that was used, this was the bullet that was used, this is how it was assembled on the roof, he carried it in his pants legs or whatever. And she's basically saying, all right, let's look at the video, let's look at the pictures, let's be rational about what, and it's not connecting. But I think she would probably be open to the possibility of a shot being taken, whether it be on the roof or not. But I think her video of this flapping object, I would have to go back and see exactly what she asserted after that. I think her main point was there is like, we were told it's this, and now we're seeing this flapping thing that is not the same rifle.
She seemed to it was a little bit felt a little obfuscatory at some point. Andrew was saying, well, do you think there was a shot at all today? And I forget what she said. I remember
what she said. Yeah.
It's like a projectile. She thinks
a projectile.
A projectile.
She strongly is committed to the view that, and you're allowed to have views, that you don't just have to ask questions, that this was a directional charge. And the reason I've never thrown my full support behind Candace, so I always just say I'm closer to her view, is there's so much means motive opportunity evidence for Israel. But I don't know why it couldn't be Israel using a gun. And, that.
Well, she did say it could have been a smaller caliber too during the debate.
She seemed, this seemed really hedgy though. Like she really, I think, believes the directional charge thing. And that's the least strongly evidenced claim. So, but is there another clip?
So this was another, so we're trying to show you guys some of the best clips from the debate. Again, it was a very long debate. It was from like 11 to 3 something. So it was very long. But this was a particular moment when they started discussing the charges that were being pressed against Tyler Robinson. And Candace was asking Andrew what specific charges were being leveled against him. And this is what happened.
This is a bad moment for Andrew. Yeah.
Which one of the charges against, or all of them, do you think Tyler
Oops, sorry.
The specific charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
this is bad.
Is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, but of the 7 charges that he's being charged.
Yeah. Can we list them real quick? I'll tell you exactly which ones. We'll pull them up.
Well, do you know any of the charges that he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course. But I want to make sure that we have them listed.
Yeah, but can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not following the case.
That's the question. You're just not following it enough.
It seems pretty, if you're going to engage and you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty, I just think that you should, can you tell me one
Then let's do the counter. You can really, this is a great gotcha.
No. You just got to ask me, play clips out of context, put me in the hot seat. So please just answer the question.
This is fair. Name all 7 since you've been following the case.
Okay, sure. You name one.
Yeah, you named all 7.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
He doesn't even. This is
name all 7.
And I
can you name all 7?
I can't.
Then do it.
Sure, you don't have to
do it. No, do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
You don't have to put your fingers up.
Okay, I'll name them.
Yeah, sure.
Name them.
The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries the death sentence in the state of Utah. No, that's not. That is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on. And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined and because it carries a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay,
You're just going to recognize that your strategy of thinking that people are intimidated when you try to put a time constraint doesn't work and you'll be better the next time you debate someone.
I got it. Give me the other ones.
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that people don't walk away?
No, I just want you to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend that there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got to.
It sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know them.
I know all 7 of them.
Then
and I'm going to say again, because you're going to get embarrassed. You don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I actually am under no time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering. And
what's the specific charges, though?
That is them. Obstruction of justice, obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
Okay. And there's no other specifics to them.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged.
No. Just the charges and then 7?
Yeah. See, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
So this is definitely a little score for her. I don't definitely a little score for Candace without doubt. People who aren't familiar with debate, it doesn't really mean a lot that it doesn't mean as much as people were saying.
One of the charges against
about
not knowing lesser included offenses. Those are called lesser included offenses, and most people don't know them. I didn't know them going in. Father, I'm guessing you didn't know them either. I don't know how important it is that people understand that the state, because this is what prosecutorial discretion always does. Crimes are usually bundles of sticks. Sometimes they merge, sometimes they don't. There's something called merger doctrine. I didn't know that he was accused of tampering, but it definitely was a moment for Candace where, it was more than a gotcha, but less than carrying the debate or something like that.
Yeah. I think the point that she said about that you don't like that Andrew Wilson doesn't actually care about the case. She made some assertions, that he was sent, I think, by TPUSA or stuff like that. Not to get into that, but you know, just on his part, I think that that is really important. That I mean, maybe I'm wrong. That he, you know, I mean, maybe he doesn't have to have so much stock in this trial as a podcaster, but I would think that as the person I mean, not the person selected, a person willing to go on in front of, I mean, I don't want to sound like an idiot, but like, how many people are we thinking? Like hundreds of thousands, million, you know, a million,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, easily.
so many people. And I think I saw the video today. It was like close to 1 million people were viewing it. And this is probably one of the biggest topics of the day in our country right now is the Charlie Kirk case. At least I think so, maybe not. And she made a point about Andrew Colvett like not going. And who am I to say that he should go or not go? But whoever is going to go and debate Candace Owens on a topic of such great importance, especially as pertaining to whether a boy is going to be sent to his execution or not, I think you would want to have those legal terms done. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, no offense to Andrew. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he doesn't need to know those terms. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know those legal terms. You know, I understood the distinction. I understood the point that Candace was trying to make, though, from a philosophical perspective of defining like the gravity of an act, you know, like murder, aggravated murder. Like, I get the idea of like distinction, like not every murder is the same kind of murder. It's the same in the terms of the nature of the act as intrinsically evil. But in legal civil terms, like, you know, was it like, you know, it still counts as homicide because the person got drunk. But it's not the same as a person like, I'm planning to murder someone. They're both murder, but different, you know. But anyway, not to get too much into that.
One thing I would have liked to have seen is that I think could have really been pressed against Andrew's side that I didn't see so much as Candace just saying over and over again, look, prosecution needs to prove the guilt of the accused, not the defense proving the innocence. And so that should have just been, I think that should have been leaned on and leaned on and leaned on again when he's like, well, how does that prove that he's innocent? It's like the prosecution has to prove the guilt of the accused, not defense proving innocent. You know, that's basic.
And before you play this clip, I just want to, you know, I'm not trying to like accuse. I just an observation, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I just felt like there's such a, I'm not saying this of Andrew, like maybe it's the case, maybe you can correct me, Tim. It's like such a drive to, maybe I shouldn't say such a drive to prove like it is Tyler. But maybe you can weigh in on that. Is the distinction, is it rather like an argumentation, like this is definitely Tyler or more likely Tyler, or is it like more of an argumentation of it's more reasonable to think it's Tyler? You see what I'm saying? Like an actual like,
we tend to common logic, common reasoning. We tend to talk about the burden of persuasion being preponderance. It'd make it 51% likely in court, particularly for criminal law, grave offenses, felonies. It's beyond reasonable doubt. But so that might be fair pushback as to why Candace didn't raise the point and Andrew didn't have to defend the point that the prosecution needs to prove his guilt, not defense proving his innocence, because we're talking about what's more likely at this point. I think that's a fair point.
I guess what I was getting at is, just before you play this clip, if I may, like, I guess sometimes when, for example, when Candace played the clip with the person on the roof, it's like the attack sometimes on her was like, oh, this is AI and stuff like that, rather than actually saying, hey, this actually looks like something. And I think it has to do with, because it's part of this greater implication of guilt on the part of persons.
Yeah.
You know, like rather than like, you know, there's something here. I think because it's connected with implication of people, like anything she presents that actually is reasonable, like the squished cars in the garage, automatically just shut down. And it's almost like, are we turning off our ability to actually be open to the truth, which I think is the purpose of debate, or is it just you attacked us? And I get it. No, like I get it. Like if people feel like they're being, you know, attacked, they have the right to defend themselves. But at the same time, cannot an enemy still be open to the truth of his foe? You know, or acknowledge that what has been said of the foe, maybe that's a very bad, you know, maybe, you know, can you be open to the opposing side and say, you know, maybe that is reasonable? And I feel like often that's not happening because it's something bigger. Opinion, my opinion, alleged, not accusing anyone, you know, just in case I get a letter saying I'm being sued or something like that.
No, I agree. I agree with that point. That's what people want to see, is just common sense, common reasoning.
I want to remind people that you can post a super chat question. We will be reading those all at the end of the show. And if you'd like to join the show to make a comment,
we got to run those. So let's do this.
Go ahead and use that link. It's pinned in chat. So this was another moment where people thought was kind of funny, where
let's just play the last two back to back.
Okay, so this is Andrew Wilson saying that he thinks all women are retarded.
Yep, I heard that.
Sorry, our clips are kind of acting funky. Oh boy. Having a hard time with that one.
He says all women are.
I just think all women are retarded.
Now, Steph, you can weigh in here.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff.
What a horrible place to video.
We are weighing
stopped.
You want me to? So that you
no,
guys
it's okay.
No, all women are retarded, but
just like stopped right there.
Is more retarded than all. I mean, Erica Kirk is either guilty or extra retarded. That's what we say.
Yeah, he's correct. I mean, that's just what he said there was right.
But here's the thing. This is the thing.
Even the smarter ones of us are still like mentally retarded.
But there's a spectrum. It's like autism.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna catch so much flack. Continue.
It's a
fire
spectrum.
is coming.
You got it. Yeah. At this point,
How dare you, Father?
Back. Yeah, I will say this as someone that has done doubles debates with Andrew and I debated against, actually the red pill. We debated together against the red pill. I agree that he's said things like this before, but with what he said before and after TPUSA, there's a bit of a shift, right? Because I don't think Rachel Wilson is actually retarded. We're having fun now. I don't think Steph is retarded. Rachel's very smart.
Yeah, I don't even think the term should be even used, especially in that way. You know, it's like it's so degrading.
We used it all the time here, but I do think that Erica Kirk is a special case. She's either saying things and doing things that are extra perplexing. We'll say that, retarded, perplexing, whatever, or they take on a guilty look if she's not just clueless. There's something evil or just deeply misinformed going on. Like 6 mere days after her husband dies, a leaked video comes out with her looking gleeful, joyous, and talking about her husband's memorial event, saying it was the event of the century, talking about, okay, let's talk about hat sales, guys. This was amazing how much money we all made.
That Zoom call was just
devastating.
Just absolutely. Candace is absolutely right. That leaked Zoom call was gross.
That's the slam dunk of the whole thing. The leaked Zoom call under a week after her. Bear in mind, people, Thomas Jefferson, after his wife died, he locked himself in his library for 3.5 weeks and he couldn't come out. He was having fainting spells. All right. That's, oh man, that's what I would do. That's what Steph would do. But to be having Zoom calls the same week your husband dies and you're excited about all the money you made, it's shocking stuff. Right. It doesn't mean she's a murderer. It means something's deeply wrong. So Andrew did, as a matter of fact, because excellent wife, Rachel, would not behave that way. A friend of ours, Steph, wouldn't behave that way. And there was some sort of before, this summer response that he had to those things that I would call more common sense. And then there was the after meeting with her response that Candace was pointing at. And she was just saying this represents a sea change. So.
Yeah.
Here is the next clip. This is, towards the end of the debate, Candace asked if Andrew would be willing to share the actual text messages, pictures of the text message that he released during his opening statement. And this is what happened.
You said you had some new evidence at the beginning of the.
Oh yeah, we should show that text message that you read just because I think that's important for the public. You shared it out of context.
I'll do it on my show. I'll share the text.
So you're going to read it on my show, but not show it?
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll show it on my show, but that's what I'll do. I'll show it on my show.
Can I ask why?
Well, because I want to drip out the evidence. It's got to drip out that evidence, keep people coming back for the show, right?
I don't know if snark serves you so well.
I'm just saying, I'll release it there. That's my intention.
I'm gonna be an idiot for a sec. One thing that didn't make sense to me. What did she mean? Stark does not serve you so well. I just was like,
Snark. She was saying snark.
Oh, snark. I thought she said Stark. I'm like Stark. I'm like, what the hell is Stark?
John
my
Stark.
language.
The New York Knicks? Yeah, no, she said snark. Yeah, and I didn't understand why that whole. I mean, look, here's my final word. I'll let you have a final word, Father. I got to bounce out of here, but it was supposed. Oh, we got super chats. Well, I got to run for a piano lesson for Maggie here, but it was a good faith debate. So when they both were tending toward, and Andrew was doing it here, they're both toward assuming that the other person was a liar. It's like, look, if TPUSA shared a secret text or tweet with you, I believe you, and that's fine to ask for it. Just as she has her sort of unrevealed evidence or private sources that he should have believed. That's key to having a debate is, look, that's fine. I believe you. Trust, but verify. That's why I didn't understand why he wouldn't show it there. I know Andrew's not going to lie. I know Candace is not going to lie. One of them is ultimately wrong in their conclusions, but they're both honest people. They're not going to lie. So I don't know why they were both so mistrustful of each other here. And it was kind of a weird look.
So Beardson said, I think we can all agree that we all hate PBD.
Yes.
He does genuinely a bad job. I don't appreciate the way he moderated it at all.
What do you think of PBD's moderation, Father?
It's funny, like, look at this still. Like, why does he have so many beverages?
Thirsty man.
What do you think of the moderation?
I thought he was good. I thought he was fair. There were some moments where he did get a little involved on Candace's side in terms of her points, which I thought was like, all right, might want to pull back. But I mean, overall, I thought it was fair. I mean, also to be fair, he didn't talk most of the time. I felt like he would have a prompt and then they would go for like 10 to 15 minutes and then he would have another prompt. I felt like, maybe that's okay. That was the point. It wasn't like the presidential election, the debates that we saw in the past where, I think it was like CNN or whoever literally had to click a silence button. So it was pretty
cornball. Like everything he said, he was like, we're all winners. Aren't we all winners here today? I'm like, guy, come on.
Yeah.
Tim, you would have done such a better job. I'm just going to say it publicly. That would have been.
I'll say this publicly. I wish Tim Gordon was the moderator. I wish he was. I'm not saying this guy did a bad job or anything. I'm just saying I think that he should have done it. And if they do if there is a second debate or any other debate and they need a moderator, I nominate Tim Gordon.
Thanks, because I would have been actually more active. Father, I would have said, look, I would have said several times, you guys are getting into the he said, she said. You have to be in a Oxford style debate where they're just sitting in chairs. but with a moderator. So it's a modified Oxford style. You got to be like a boxing ref. When two boxers go into the clinch, right? People are going to start throwing tomatoes. We did not come here to see you guys clinch up. We came here to see you guys throw punches. We did not come here. The clinch is when they're sitting there, both being defensive, talking about, I said that, you said that, he said that, I said. No one cares about that, man. We want to talk about Israel. We want to talk about, after we get to the definition of evidence, we want to say, what evidence is there that Tyler Robinson did this? What evidence of Lance Twiggs? What evidence is there that this was a sole shooter? And, you know, there are very specific moments. I kept telling Steph, I would have jumped in there and I've been like, guys, quit squabbling about that. Well, we want to see you guys throw overhand rights. We don't want to see you guys clinching up and doing this petty stuff. So, yeah, I would have made them actually fight on the big points. Here's some super chats here, because I know you have piano, but Joe Canutt F6I said, serpent just asking questions in Genesis 3:1. I think they're trying to make some point that asking questions can be
so asking questions means you're devilish. So I guess Jesus asking questions means he's devilish.
Yeah.
All right. So it's satanic to ask questions. All right. Continue.
Nice.
Next one.
It is rash judgment, at least, to accuse Erica.
Tim, you go for it, but I already have it loaded in my back pocket what I want to say.
You go, Father. This was you're ready for this one.
Yeah. So St. Thomas, when we get into the topic, so it is rash judgment, at least to accuse Erica. Okay. So St. Thomas Aquinas, when he talks about in question 68 of the Secunda Secunda of the Summa, he talks about unjust accusation. And this is in the context of a court proceeding. And he says that when answering the question of if a person is bound to accuse, he says, yes, a person is bound to accuse if they have sufficient evidence. They're not doing it, for the wrong intentions. They have an obligation to accuse for the sake of the common good and to bring the person to justice. Now, he says that what can make an accusation unjust, one of them being is calumny. Calumny is when a person, it renders the accusation unjust. It is when a person accuses knowing that what they are saying is not true, and explicitly they're doing it for the purpose of falsely accusing. Now, this is to answer the question specifically. St. Thomas Aquinas says that it is not calumny if a person makes an accusation in good faith, but it's made out of error, or he says levity of mind. And he says one of the reasons can be rash judgment. So, yes, it is possible that, and I think I even said this, if anything, Candace, it might be more in the realm of some of her claims rash judgment, but that's not the same as calumny. And secondly, is it a rash judgment at least to accuse Erica? Well, to answer that question, you would have to look at what evidence did she provide, and did she directly accuse Erica? And what I said was no, she didn't directly say Erica did X.
But I'll just say one thing: Socratic line of questioning about the very fishy spouse using standard legal leitmotifs like this spouse is not grieving. This spouse stood to gain a lot. Those can be even insinuative questions the way they've been for Candace, and I will always defend the fact that she's raising them. They're not calumnious. They are standard at law for the spouse to be the most suspected person, particularly when they behave exactly as Erica's behaved. So Candace is I think she should defend more and say, yeah, they're insinuative. It's an insinuative Socratic line of questions. I'm not just asking questions because Erica seems innocent. She seems fishy. That fishy doesn't mean guilty, but we need to look into it more.
So moving on, we're just going to shotgun through some of these because we have a few more. Deus Vult Vatican II set $5. Respect and gratitude to you both. Do you think it's relevant that Andrew Wilson is or was a self-proclaimed master Mason in context to this debate?
No, he's out of it, and he's a good Christian man. So no, I don't think so. Father, what do you think?
I don't know enough about him to get into that, but I trust your word, Tim.
The big watermelon sent $5. The whole name that changes the scene. The whole name that changes the scene was a cheap gotcha moment. Her feminist side came out LOL. Honestly, made it look bad. Oh, name the charges. Sorry. So the big watermelon is saying when she asked him to name the charges, that was a cheap gotcha moment. I don't think so. I think that was pretty. Don't you think that was a relevant portion of the debate or no?
I think it was a relevant gotcha moment, meaning of mild to moderate importance. I don't think lesser included in offenses is something that he needed to be able to rattle off. No one would know OJ's lesser included offenses, and we would all be like, well, OJ was guilty, and we all think we know what happened there. On the other hand, I don't think that was a feminist moment.
Yeah, because he's asking to debate a woman. Like, you don't debate women because of this whole thing, but
yeah,
like,
I don't debate women.
Yeah, you don't debate women, but like when you ask to debate a woman, she's going to use her mouth to like speak words, and not everything she says is going to be feministy when you ask a woman to debate you.
Yeah, I don't see the,
the feminist connection. No.
Yeah, I don't see I don't think that needs to be a necessary connection.
Zach Costello's show sent $10, and he said Andrew's claim that there is an overwhelming evidence against Tyler Robinson while only being 70 to 80% sure he did it is pretty damning to his position. That is the definition of reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, Zach. Zach's done good work on this. Yeah, he said 70, 80%, but overwhelming. It's like federal judges refuse to quantify what beyond reasonable doubt would mean, what percentage sure. They've always refused to qualify, but everyone thinks it means about between 95 and 98%. We know preponderance of the evidence, a lower civil burden of persuasion means 51%. Clear and convincing is the next level up in other kinds of contracts cases. People guess, is that what's clear and convincing evidence? 70 to 75, judges won't say. But we know it's beyond reasonable doubt, it's 95 to 98% sure at least. And by Andrew's own admission, 70 to 80% doesn't make it. And I was surprised that he said it that low.
And it was kind of a girl move on Candace and to say 0%. Girls always say either 100 or 0.
That was 0?
Like, you gotta say, come on, Candace, you gotta say at least like, I don't know, like respectable. Like, I'll say 17%.
5%.
Yeah, 17.3%.
Yeah, I was like, why 0?
I think words have weight, and I think that if any person's going to say that something is overwhelming, I think you really need to be able to back that up.
Yeah, that's weird.
Overwhelming sounds like a little bit higher than 70, 80. If we have to quantify, how do we quantify overwhelming? But most people would understand overwhelming to be like, we are almost positive.
Right.
And that's basically what I'm not saying that's what he's saying, but most people would assume overwhelming means like we are pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Was that it, Stevie? Father, yeah, this is, I'm not just saying this. I think this has been the most charitable way anybody's dealt with either side is how you've dealt with it here. So, your positions are your own. My positions are my own. But I think, you've kept it utterly charitable here, and I appreciate your perspective. And I'll say it even if you're not willing to. I'm glad that Bree caught that bad ratio because it was really unfair of her to do that. And people out there, if you are on Twitter, go support Father Joseph DiMarzo on Twitter because he's clearly a charitable, good priest, just trying to weigh in where the truth leads them, not for Candace, not for Andrew, just where the truth leads us. Remember what Jesus said, let your yes mean yes, your no mean no. Everything else comes from the devil. Did you have a parting shot, Father?
Yeah, Jesus said the truth will set you free. I, not just as like a moral theologian, but I've always considered myself as like, I like to think of myself as a defender of the truth. When my mind locks onto something to figure it out, I'm like, let's figure this out. I love the truth. I love searching for the truth. And my goal, my part is to lead souls to heaven. And guess what? That doesn't just mean from the pulpit. It means right here in front of this microphone, just like Fulton Sheen did. And Father Patrick Payton and others, Mother Angelica, those who use the social media to weigh in on things and help souls get to heaven. Both Andrew, both Candace, Andrew, Erica, I want them all to go to heaven, and I pray for them all, and God bless them all. And I want us to work together, have healthy, good conversation and debate for the purpose of arriving at the truth. That's what it means to be American. That's what it means to be a rational animal. That's what it means to be created in the image and likeness of God. Not just to, silence people or, say they can't speak this, but whatever, but to be able to have that good scholastic debate to arrive at the truth together.
And justice needs to be done. And
justice.
We have to discriminate rationally between good guys and bad guys, and that's what the law is set to do. So,
and may justice come to whoever did this.
Right,
may justice come.
I don't know who it is. Father Joseph doesn't know who it is. Candace and Andrew don't know who it is, but we're trying to figure it out through Socratic question. We have suspicions. And, no one's dealt with his own suspicions as charitably as you, Father. So good for you. Everyone out there, support Father Joseph, because he's one of the most charitable voices on the internet on this whole thing. Thank you, Father. God bless you all. And you guys leave comments. I'm really curious on this video. Who do you think came out on top on this debate and why? Leave that comment on the channel.
If I could end with a final word.
Sure.
I think Candace came out on top. That's just in my opinion. And secondly, I would love to give everybody a blessing before I go.
Okay. And agreed, by the way. I agree with you. Yeah.
Sure. May Almighty God bless you, Tim, your wife, your family, and all those watching. And may God also bless Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson and all those involved. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Especially their spouses. God bless Andrew and his wife, Rachel, who has been a close friend of ours for a while. People are really going after Rachel. And God bless Candace and her spouse, George. People are really going after the spouses in this thing. It's gotten really nasty. And that's why I'm saying, listen to Father Joseph. He's being kind to everyone. These are all four good people. And it's just stop going after them personally. Just disagree and disagree on the merits. Don't go after their goodly spouses. Both of them have good spouses. Okay. Thanks, Father.
God bless you, Tim.
God bless you, Father.